भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरिः ओम। I think my video is not working, right?
Yes, it's not.
What happened to this? Video and effects, no SG. This video, okay. Oh, okay, understood. Now I think it should work. Okay. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We reading from Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 21. This is Arjuna speaking, and also speaking with Yudhishthira Maharaj after Lord Shri Krishna has left. He is lamenting. So, text 21, 15.21. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same heroes, and I use them as the same Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Shri Krishna, all of them, at a moment's notice, have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter to ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land. Srila Prabhupada's purpose. As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up to borrow plums, puffed up by borrowed plums. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Shri Krishna, and they act as long as he desires and cease to function as soon as he withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse. As soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by supreme will by the Lord. Material civilization without the blessing of Lord is child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all activities thereof must be dovetailed as the supreme blessing of the Lord. And without these blessings, all advancement of human civilization is like decoration on a dead body. It is said here that dead civilization and its activities are something like clarified butter on ashes, the accumulation of money by magic wand, and the sowing of seeds in a barren land. Text 22 and 3. O King, since you have asked me about your friends and relatives in the city of Dwarka, I will inform you that all of them were cursed by the Brahmanas, and as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine and And as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine made of petrified rice, and fought among themselves with sticks, not even recognizing one another. Now all but 4 or 5 of them are dead, are dead and gone. अच्छा, 4-5 बचे elsewhere gone. Text 24. Factually, this is all due to the supreme will of the Lord, the personality of Godhead. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. Srila Prabhupada's purport. According to the anthropologists, there is nature's law of struggle of existence and survival of the fittest, but they do not know that behind the law's nature is the supreme direction of the supreme personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the law of nature is executed under the direction of the Lord. When therefore there is peace in the world, it must be known that it is due to the goodwill of the Lord. What shloka is this? Confirm the law of nature is executed under the direction of the Lord. Mama mai duratya Gunamayi mama maya duratya mameva prapadyante mayam etam taranti te. 7:14. it's overcome to, okay, not this one, something else maybe. Whenever therefore there is peace in the world, it must be known that it is due to the goodwill of the Lord, and whenever there is upheaval in the Lord, it is also due to the supreme will of the Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. Whenever therefore there is disobedience of the established rules enacted by the Lord, there is war between men and nations. The surest way to the path of peace therefore is to dovetail everything to establish rule of the Lord. The established rule is that whatever we do, Krishna, sorry. The established rule is that whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we sacrifice, or whatever we give in charity must be done for the full satisfaction of the Lord. No one there, one should do anything, eat anything, sacrifice anything, or give anything in charity against the will of the Lord. This is also a shloka which I am not able to find. 1 second, I need to find this. Is a very important shloka. This is 1.1. No, this is what we are reading. But yes. यद करोसि यद अस्नासि यद जुहोसि ददासि यद तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत् कुरुस्व मदर्पणम. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in oblation, sacrifice, whatever you bestow as gift, and whatever austerities you perform, O son of Kunti, do them as an offering to me. That is this shloka. Discretion is a better part of valor. One must learn how to discriminate between actions which may be pleasing to the Lord and those which not be pleasing to the Lord. An action is thus judged by the Lord's pleasure and displeasure. It's very important. There is no room for personal whims. We must always be guided by the pleasure of the Lord. Such action is called Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Okay, should actually mark all of this. Or actions performed which are linked with the Supreme Lord. That is the art of doing things perfectly. Text 25 and 26. Would you like to read? Okay, later.
Okay.
Okay, you read.
Text 25, is it?
Yes.
Translation. O King, as in the ocean, the bigger and stronger aquatics swallow up the smaller and weaker ones, so also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to lighten the burden of the earth, has engaged the stronger Yadu to kill the weaker and the bigger Yadu to kill the smaller. Purport in the material world, the struggle for existence and survival of the fittest are laws because in the material world there is disparity between conditioned souls due to everyone's desire to lord it over the material resources. This very mentality of lording it over the material nature is the root cause of conditioned life. And to give facility to such imitation lords, the illusory elegy of the Lord has created a disparity between conditioned living beings by creating the stronger and the weaker in the every species of life. The mentality of lording it over the material nature and the creation has naturally created a disparity and therefore the law of struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no such disparity, nor is there any such struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no struggle for existence because everyone there exists eternally. There is no disparity because everyone wants to render service to the Supreme Lord and no one wants to imitate the Lord in becoming the beneficiary. The Lord, being creator of everything, including the living beings, factually is a proprietor of them. Can you roll it up? Scroll it. Yeah, thank you. Becoming the beneficiary. The Lord, being the creator of everything, including the living beings, factually is a proprietor and enjoyer of everything that be. But in the material world, by the spell of Maya or illusion, this eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is forgotten. And so the living being is conditioned under the law of struggle for existence and survival of fittest. Translation. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Herein Arjuna refers to the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted by him by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Lord left behind him the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita not for the benefit of Arjuna alone, but also for all the time and in all lands. The Bhagavad Gita, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all wisdom, Vedic wisdom. It is nicely presented by the Lord Himself for all who have very little time to go through the vast Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Vedanta Sutras. It is put within the study of the great historical epic Mahabharata, which was especially prepared for the less intelligent class, namely the women, the laborers, and those who are worthless descendants of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and higher sections of the Vaishyas. The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Again, after the departure of Lord from the vision of the earthly people, when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, just to teach all the concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for solace from all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way out of great entanglements which may embarrass, em- to make someone feel uncomfortable. Oh, same it, yeah, okay. Embarrass one in some critical hour. The merciful Lord left behind him the great teachings of Bhagavad Gita so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when he is not visible to materialize. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Lord, but by his inconceivable power, the Lord can incarnate himself to the sense perception of the conditioned souls in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of Lord's manifested energy. This Bhagavad Gita or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord is also the incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord Himself. One can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord. The faithful human being who is desirous of being liberated from the clutches of material existence can very easily take advantage of Bhagavad Gita. And with this in view, the Lord instructed Arjuna as if Arjuna were in need of it. In the Bhagavad Gita, five important factors of knowledge have been deline- delineated, delineated pertaining to one, the Supreme Lord, second, the living being, third, nature, fourth, time and space, fifth, process of activity. Out of these, the Supreme Lord and the living being are qualitatively one. The difference between the two has been analyzed as a difference between the whole and the part and parcel. Nature is inert matter, displaying the interaction of three different modes. And eternal time and unlimited space are considered to be beyond the existence of the material nature. Activities of the living being are different varieties of aptitudes which can entrap or liberate the living beings within and without material nature. All these subject matters are concisely discussed in Bhagavad Gita, and later the subject matters are elaborated in the Srimad Bhavatam for further enlightenment. Out of the five subjects, the Supreme Lord, the living entity, nature, and time and space are eternal. But the living entity, nature, and time are under the direction of the Supreme Lord. What? Out of the five subjects, the Supreme Lord, living entity, nature, and time and space are eternal. But the living entity, nature, and time are under the direction. Huh? No, I was just confused with that sentence, so I was just reading it again. Mm, thank you. Mm, and completely independent of any other control. Lord is a supreme controller. The material activity of the living being is beginningless, but it can be rectified by transferal into the spiritual quality. Thus, it can cease its material qualitative reactions. Both the Lord and living entity are cognizant, and both have sense of identification, of being conscious as a living force. But the living being under the condition of material nature called Mahat Tattva misidentifies himself as being different from the Lord. The living being under the condition of material nature called Mahat Tattva misidentifies himself as being different from the Lord. The whole scheme of Vedic wisdom is targeted to the aim of eradicating such a misconception and thus liberating the living being from illusion of material identification. When such an illusion is eradicated by knowledge and renunciation, the living beings are responsible actors and enjoyers also. The sense of enjoyment in the Lord is real, but such a sense of the sense in the living being is a sort of wiseful desire only. The difference in consciousness is a distinction of the two identities, namely the Lord and the living being. Otherwise, there is no difference between the Lord and the living being. The living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously. The whole instruction of the Bhagavad Gita stands on this principle. In the Bhagavad Gita, I can complete this. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord and the living beings are both described as Sanatana or eternal, and the Lord's abode, far beyond the material sky, is also described as Sanatana. The living being is invited to live in the Sanatana existence of the Lord, and the process which can help a living being to approach the Lord's abode, where the liberated activity of the Lord, the soul, is exhibited, is called Sanatan Dharma. Okay, approach the Lord's abode. Mm. One cannot, however, reach the eternal abode of the Lord without being free from the misconception of material identification. And the Bhagavad Gita gives us the clue how to achieve this stage of perfection. The process of being liberated from the misconception of material identification is called, in different stages, fruitative activity, empirical philosophy, and devotional service, up to transcendental realization. Maybe they are talking about Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga.
So the process of being liberated from the misconception of material identification is called indifferentiated fruitive activity, empiric philosophy, and devotional service up to transcendental realization. So Paramatma, Brahman, and Bhagavan. All these realizations like that up to transcendental. Such transcendental is made possible by dovetailing all the items in relation with the Lord. So मतलब these are different stages. So first through karma, and then through jnana, and then to bhakti.
Buddhi to
Such
bhakti.
क्या
Buddhi yoga to bhakti yoga. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga.
हाँ बुद्धि एंड भक्ति योगा सेम ओनली इफ वन मतलब एक्चुअली बुद्धि योगा इज भक्ति योगा ओनली ये
Okay. Such transcendental realization is made possible by dovetailing all the above items in relationship with the Lord. Prescribed duties of the human being as directed in the Vedas can gradually purify the sinful mind of the conditioned soul and rise him to the stage of knowledge. The purified stage of acquiring knowledge becomes the basis of the devotional service to the Lord. As long as one is engaged in researching the solution of the problems of the life, his knowledge is called jnana, or purified knowledge. But on realizing the actual solution of life, one becomes situated in the devotional service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the problems of life by discriminating the soul from the elemental elements of matter and proves by all reasons and arguments that the soul is indestructible in all circumstances and that the outer covering of matter, the body, and the mind change for another term of material existence, which is full of miseries. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore meant for terminating all different types of miseries, and Arjuna took shelter of this great knowledge, which has been imparted to him during the Kurukshetra battle. Yeah, you can continue.
text 28 Srila Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship and in thinking of the lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since the Lord is absolute, deep meditation upon him is as good as yogic trance. The Lord is non-different from his name, form, quality, pastime, entourage and specific actions. Arjuna began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only those instructions began to eliminate the tinges of material contaminations in the mind of Arjuna. The Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance, and the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once derive away the miserable material effects. Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended constant chanting of the name of the Lord for protection from all contamination of the material world. The feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotees, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss, and they are never comparable to contaminated material feelings of separation. Okay. Text 29. Arjuna, constant remembrance of the lotus feet of the Lord Shri Krishna rapidly increased his devotion, and as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Material desires in the mind are the trash of material contamination. By such contamination, the living beings faced with so many compatible and incompatible things that discourage the very existence of spiritual identity. Birth after birth, the conditioned soul is entrapped with so many pleasing and displeasing elements, which are all false and temporary. They accumulate due to our reactions of material desires, but when we get in touch with the transcendental Lord, the variegated energy by devotional service, the naked form of material desires become manifest, and the intelligence of the living being is pacified in its true color. As soon as Arjuna turned his attention towards the instruction of the Lord as they are inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita, his true color of eternal association with the Lord became manifest, and thus he felt freed from all material contaminations. Text 30. Because of Lord's pastimes and activities and because of his absence, it appeared that Arjuna forgot the instructions left by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but factually this was not the case, and again he became Lord of his senses. क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? पुनः यत्यत् संग्रम जीवन तत् काल कर्म तमोरूढ़म पुनरअध्यागमत्. Revived them again. Prabhu means Lord of senses. Okay. Srila Prabhupada's purport. A conditioned soul is enwrapped in his fruitive activities by the force of eternal time. But the Supreme Lord, when he incarnates on the earth, is not influenced by Kala or the material conception of the past, present, and future. The activities of the Lord are eternal and they are manifestations of his Atma Maya or eternal potency. All pastimes and activities of the Lord are spiritual in nature, but to the layman they appear to be on the same level of material activities. It is so appeared that Arjuna and the Lord were engaged in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as the other party was also engaged, but factually the Lord was executing his mission of incarnation and association with his eternal friend Arjuna. Therefore, such apparently material activities of Arjuna did not drive him away from the transcendental position, but on the contrary revived his consciousness of the songs of the Lord as he sang them personally. The revival of the consciousness is assured by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 18.65 as follows. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. One should think of the Lord always, the mind should not forget him. One should become a devotee of the Lord and offer obeisances unto him. One should live in that fashion, becomes undoubtedly endowed with the blessings of the Lord by the achieving the shelter of his lotus feet. There is nothing to doubt about the eternal truth, because Arjuna was the confidential friend. The secret was disclosed to him. Arjuna had no desire to fight with his relatives, but he fought for the mission of the Lord. He was always engaged in the execution of his mission only, and therefore after the Lord's departure, he remained in the same transcendental position. Even though it appeared that he forgot all the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one should therefore adjust the activities of life in pace. One should therefore adjust the activities of life in pace with the mission of the Lord, and by doing this, one is sure to return back home, back to Godhead. This is the highest perfection of life. Text 31. Because of his possessing spiritual assets, the doubt of duality were completely cut off. Thus, he was freed from the three modes of material nature and placed in transcendence. There was no longer any chance of becoming entangled in birth and death, for he was freed from material form. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Doubts of duality begin from the misconception of the material body, which is accepted by self as less intelligent person. The most foolish part of our ignorance is identifying this material body with the self. Everything in relation with the body is ignorantly accepted as our own. Doubts due to the conception of myself and mine, in other words, my body, my relatives, my property, my wife, my children, my wealth, my country, my community, and hundreds of thousands of similar illusory conceptions cause bewilderment to the conditioned souls. By assimilating the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one is sure to be released from such bewilderment, because real knowledge is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudev, Lord Shri Krishna, is everything, including oneself. Everything is manifestation of his potency as part and parcel. The potency and potent are non-different. So the conception of duality is at once mitigated by attainment of perfect knowledge. As soon as Arjuna took up the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, expert as he was, he could at once eradicate the material conception of Lord Krishna, his eternal friend. He could realize that the Lord was still present before him by the instruction, by his form, by his pastimes, and by his qualities, and everything else related to him. He could realize that Lord Shri Krishna, his friend, was still present before him by the transcendental presence in the different non-dual energies, and there was no question of attainment of the association of the Lord by another change of body under the influence of time and space. By attainment of absolute knowledge, one can be in association with the Lord constantly. By attainment of absolute knowledge, one can be in association with the Lord constantly, even in this present life, simply by hearing, chanting, thinking, and worshipping the Lord. One can see Him, one can feel His presence in even the present life, simply by understanding the Advaya Jnana, Lord, or the Absolute, through the process of devotional service, which begin by hearing about Him. Very important. Chaitanya says that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can at once wash off the dust on the mirror of the pure consciousness. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. And as soon as the dust is removed, one is freed from all material condition. Bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. To become free from material conditions means to be liberated, to liberate the soul. As soon as one is therefore situated in absolute truth, his material conception of life is removed, or he emerges from a false conception of life. Thus, the function of a pure soul is revived in spiritual realization. This practical realization of the living being is made possible due to the becoming free from the reaction of the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. By the grace of the Lord, a pure devotee is at once raised to the place of absolute, and there is no chance of the devotee being materially entangled again in the conditioned life. One is not able to feel the presence of the Lord in all circumstances until one is endowed with the required transcendental vision, made possible by devotional service prescribed in the revealed scriptures. Arjuna had attained the stage long before on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and when he apparently felt the absence of the Lord, he at once took shelter of the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and thus again he was placed in his original position. This is the position of Vishoka, or the stage of being freed from grief and anxieties. Vishoka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we'll be reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, I'll restart the live.